Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video I'd like to talk about Doctor Who once again, relating to that great topic of great companions that never were in the history of Doctor Who. Background characters, actors or actresses that, one reason or another, really stood out to me as having been potentially very interesting additions to the TARDIS through time and space with the Doctor on further adventures. In this particular case, I'm going all the way back to the classic series, the Hartnell era, with the story, The Sensorites. Now, in this story, it's basically about these aliens called the Sensorites on the Sensosphere, their planet, who have the ability to control minds and keep people asleep or, manipulate them, make them fearful and things like that. And basically the Doctor and his companions, Ian, Barbara, and his granddaughter Susan, have to figure out what exactly is going on with this seemingly manipulative culture. They won't kill, but they do seem to want to keep human beings in a spaceship that happens to be orbiting the Sensosphere, their planet. They want to keep them at bay, and the question is, what exactly is the motivation? So the two characters that I want to talk about happen to be the characters of Carol Richmond and John. Now, they are basically fiancés. They are promised to each other to be married. They are astronauts on a futuristic spacecraft, two of the human beings who are being held by the Sensorites, as it were. And what's very interesting as we watch this story is Carol is one of the pilots alongside another pilot, whereas the John character that she's engaged to is locked in another part of the ship. He's basically in the storeroom area or the living quarters area, and he's locked in this area, and he's been tormented and almost tortured in mind by the Sensorites. Now, it turns out, basically, they thought him a threat, and that was kind of the only way that they could, try to ward him off, try to keep him controlled and make sure that the fear was always ever present so that he wouldn't try to take any disastrous, moves toward them and that kind of thing. And what was really interesting as the story unfolds is they try to find a way to free his mind and free him of this warping and this control, and it turns out that they're successful in the end. So essentially you have these two characters reunited, they renew their love for each other, and basically they're sent off on their merry way back to Earth. But in any case, while they're not as overly productive in the story as you might think, basically we're focusing on the Doctor and his companions for the most part, as well as some of the Sensorites. What they do amount to is a futuristic couple in another time that it would have felt to me almost as if they could have been companions being set up. By the end of the story, you have this character who has suffered of mental illness, coming back to sorts, coming back to himself, and basically seeing that his wife-to-be is there beside him yet again. They're going to spend the rest of their lives together, but wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it have been fun if the Doctor had seen their ability? Essentially they're very hopeful people. They find that they have a will of their own through the course of the story to be able to help them overpower the mental control that the Sensorites try to put down on top of them, and they basically find themselves. They're also very redeemable characters. This is something I've touched on many times before, in that they want to help some other human survivors, and I'll leave it there because it would be spoiling the story if I go in depth. But suffice to say that they're very courageous characters in that they're willing to go down to the Sensosphere amongst these creatures that have oppressed them for no apparent reason, or at least one that they can't divine, and it takes the Doctors helping them to understand why it is that they were so oppressed mentally and mentally controlled. And by the end of it, as I say, they would have been just a couple of really fun characters, these futuristic characters, but very human characters as well, to bridge the gap of sci-fi fiction as well as very relatable characters. They did love each other, and we would have had to then lose a bunch of stories with still Ian, Barbara, and Susan and everything like that, and Vicky and all the other characters that have been in between there, Dodo and all that kind of stuff. But quite frankly, I think these two would have been a fun addition to the TARDIS. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've ever seen the story of the Sensorites, what you thought of it, did you enjoy it or not? And with these two characters, if you're familiar with them, or based on what I've talked about to do with them, whether you think they could have made fitting companions with the Doctor through time and space on further adventures, as I say. And so otherwise, that'll be it from me on this. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you later. Peace.